Do you feel stuck? Do you feel like your dreams and your aspirations have gone by the wayside? Do you feel like you're living behind a veil, the 3D matrix, or what I like to call the prescribed life? Hi, I am Melissa with Journey Out of the Bottle, and I created Journey Out of the Bottle to provide a place of inspiration, of hope, of knowing that you're not crazy. There is a life to be lived, one of bliss, one of outlandishly wild dreams being explored and realized. And I'm here to share what I have learned, what I have traversed. I have gone through a wide range of experiences over the last 3 years in awakening from the fuckery of alcohol, awakening from the life that alcohol had me trapped in. This is your treasure map to the technicolor reality that you've glimpsed in your deepest meditations and dreams and imaginations. I've assembled so many powerful tools that accelerated my own transformation, and I'm here to guide you through your journey. Your higher self is waiting. Your cosmic mission is calling. Join me at journeyoutofthebottle.com or find me on Instagram at journeyoutofthebottle. The portal is open when you're ready to step through. Now please take a deep breath. The universe is already rearranging itself for what's about to unfold. This is Seth, and Seth and I intermingled. Our circles brought us together about 1.5 years ago. Ish.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
We both have been to ISTA. We both have done Latihan, and we're both exploring and experimenting with creating sexy lives, right? I don't know. I won't speak for you, but I'll let you speak for
I
yourself.
just have a sexy life.
You do. you kind of do, right? Right? Is it sexier than it used to be?
I don't know how to answer that. It's. I don't think that's not my measure of my life necessarily.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But it probably is for sure.
What is the measure of your life?
I don't do a lot of measuring. I think it's
good.
Going with what feels real for me and being honest about that. It's both a search for what is it that I want to be doing and feeling, and then just staying true to that. And, sometimes that's sexy, and sometimes it's, work and other things, right? There's no shying away from those things either.
Yeah. I want to talk about existential kink with you too, because you turned me onto that. Mm-hmm. And now it kind of has resurfaced again, of course, right? Like all these learnings and things that we learn, and then you kind of put it on a shelf. Maybe you're not done with it, but then it comes back and it's like, oh, now it's at a different level.
Yeah.
But you turned me onto that last year around this time.
Yeah.
And now it's coming back. The existential kink. I invited you here to do this podcast episode with me, to do a live in organic, right? RBDSMT conversation, talk, process, whatever, so that others can see the process for this. And, as with everything, there's a spectrum of, having this conversation. At ISTA, I learned this practice called RBDSMT, which Lori added the T. So R is relationship, B, boundaries, D, desires, S, safer sex,
sexual health,
yeah, right? Like a stats, right? And then M is morning after, meaning making,
yeah.
And then T is trauma.
Right.
She added the T at the end, so you could talk about a little bit of if sometimes I get triggered or traumatized, and
sure.
And I mean, we could probably sit here and talk for hours about this, right? I think. And I've had some of these conversations be 15 minutes and some of them go for 2 hours.
Sure.
And I've also now started this doesn't even have to be done in a, sexual relationship.
Yeah.
It can be done if you're going to be spending time and having an intimate relationship with someone, sexual or non-sexual, like, why are we here?
Well, and so I think that's a good thing to talk about is like, okay, what is this? So you kind of explained the outline of what it is, but at ISTA, which is where I first learned about it too, it's really intended to be, hey, here are some tools for when you're interacting with people in these sexy spaces, right? And one of the first ones was a conversation about these really important things that often we don't talk about.
Yeah, 99.9.
Right, so like let's put out there like, oh, hey, if you're going to enter a space that might be, you know, sexy with someone, an individual or multiple people, here's some stuff that you should definitely be at least bringing up.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're not taught that most of us are not taught this skill.
Sure.
You know, we teach our kids like almost everything else in life. You know, we talk to them ad nauseum about the ABCs and using scissors and, you know, like, but when it comes to sex or intimacy or pleasure, it's like, oh, that's uncomfortable. Good luck. And the analogy that I gave to Lori handlers is like, it's like, I would never just hand my, you know, when my kids were going out to drive, I wouldn't hand them the keys and just be like, here's the brakes, here's the steering wheel, and wear your seatbelt and good luck.
Right.
Right? Like, but we do that with sex and intimacy and pleasure. And so as adults, we're out just kind of fumbling around and being like, I don't know, like I find this person attractive, do they find me? And then nobody knows what the fuck is going on.
Well, something that I also appreciate about the conversation is first, just having it is powerful, right? But also when you really sink into the things you're talking about and reflect internally on them, that's a potentially lifetime process of, oh, what are my boundaries?
Right.
What are my desires? Like those are not necessarily easy answers.
No.
And they are actually, there's fluid. Like, and so there's a certain level of like, oh, well, maybe it's this or that. And then there's like a very deep, like RBDSM is the gateway or can be a gateway into a lifetime of understanding.
It's the portal for pleasure. Yeah. And pleasure doesn't always have to be sex. It can be like, oh my God, I just deeply connected with you. And now I know so much about you. There are some things that I now know about you that now I'm like, oh, you know, maybe I don't necessarily want to be intimate with you because I'm not into that same thing. And maybe that won't align, right? Or we can try, but it just I've had some people be like, oh, you talk about it beforehand? Doesn't that take away the, you know, the spontaneity? And I'm like, no, it opens up the door for so much more possibility because you know your boundaries.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to go to the end of the boundary, right? You just kind of know what it is. And then you have the ability to check in. And my boundary just changed. And I was a yes to that. And now I'm a no. And it's okay to say that instead of just being like, well, I said I was into that. And I guess now I have to go through with it.
Yeah.
Like it just opens up this whole, everybody wins. Right? Everyone wins. So how many conversations do you think that you've had this, like, where you've instigated maybe this conversation with someone?
It's hard to say. In the way that I relate now, I think that when I first learned it, it was kind of a, oh, I should have this conversation. And now I think and in that state, I would bring it up first date over dinner, right? Like to me, there's no like presumption that we're going to get to those. It's more like, hey, let's just at least have a little bit of this conversation.
Totally.
Because there's at least a potential of us going someplace.
Right.
I think now I have a tendency, it depends a lot more on who I'm with. And oftentimes it comes up just in the natural flow of how we're either, the context we're in.
Right.
And I kind of just, it's more of like is there something we hadn't talked about from that? Oh, okay, maybe let's talk about that part. Yeah. So it's not necessarily as much like, okay, what does RBDSM stand for?
Right.
As much as it's become kind of more ingrained into the types of conversations I naturally have. But it's a great thing to just like bring up, especially with new spaces and new people. Mm-hmm. Like that's really key of like, oh, do you know what RBDSM is? Like even just the explaining of it to a friend is an amazing conversation to have.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even if it's a friend that you're like, I'm never like presumptively, right? And that's the other thing too, is like you can have the conversation and then you're at lunch, right? Like we're not going to do anything about it now, but like, ooh, that gives me some brain candy to think about. Or, and then the next time you meet up, you should actually recheck in.
Totally.
Right? Like, oh, well, I said that at lunch the other day, but now that I've been thinking about it, my boundary might have changed. Yeah. And it gave me something to think about. Like, because that's the thing is we often don't even know what our own boundaries or desires are. Or what is the meaning of this? Like if I have this experience with you, what do I think I want afterwards?
Yeah. And those things, some of that changes even in a deep relationship with someone though too. Like you maybe have a primary partner you're relating with every day and still makes sense to check in on some of these things, especially if you're, relating with other people.
Right.
Sexual health, boundary, like those things are things that even with someone you're very close with can change. Mm-hmm. And it's good to make a quick check-in on it.
In an instant. Because everything's fluid, right? Like nothing is static. And people, my friend Rebecca, who's one of the people that owns this, or like, whatever. She's like, her phrase is people are people-y. People be people-y. And I'm like, yes, how can you pretend to know what's going on in my head? Because half the time I have no idea what's going on in my head, and it changes like that. The phone could ring right now and something could happen and be like, oh, now I'm tense, or, oh my God, I just got the greatest news. Let's go celebrate, So, but it just opens up the door to be able to like create such a deeper level of intimacy and connection that, once you have the conversation once, it just lets every relationship open up, whether it's work, social, sexual, intimate. If you're going to be like, I went to France for 3 weeks and we both were just like, oh, intuitively we don't even know what this means. Like, I don't, this is a woman, I'm going to be staying in her house with her family. And we were both like so excited that like, oh my God, this seems to just be flowing right. And then after day 3, I was like, okay, now why am I here? Like, do you know why I'm here? Like, where are my boundaries? Like, can I stay up late? Can I listen to music? And so I was like, oh my God, I should have the RBDSM with her.
Right.
And now, so we know like what this is. So it just is such a, and the more that you and I do it, and then people who watch this and listen and they start doing it, it just ripples out. And it's then we're actually having something to practice with an impetus to create such a deeper connection.
So I'm feeling a desire, because we've given some context about it, but like to actually get into each of the things and maybe do kind of a brief explanation of how we do it or what it means for us.
Yes, please.
So that we kind of get to the hands-on examples in the essence. So, and we've had this conversation before. Do you want to have it, or do you want to explain it?
I think we can do both.
Okay, great.
Right? Keep it fluid and
So I want to have a conversation with you, and I'd like to talk about like, some boundaries and how we're relating, and are you open to that?
I absolutely am.
Awesome.
Bring it.
So the R, right? And this is a big one that for me actually is one of the earliest things I bring up because of my relating style. And that's exactly what it is. What are your relationships? And what's your relating style, or what's like most appropriate within there to talk about.
Yeah.
So for instance, that could have been at times in my life, hey, I'm polyamorous. I relate, with multiple loves, but I have a primary partner. Mm-hmm. And then oftentimes it's appropriate too then to say, and here are my agreements around that.
Yeah.
Right. And to name that so that the other person kind of has a feel for what that relationship can be. And obviously you can ask.
Yeah.
But the truth right now is that my relating style is what some people would kind of call maybe relationship anarchy, but I choose to relate with every individual in what feels the most natural for that person. And so right. My friends can be sexy friends. They can be non-sexy friends. My lovers can be, there's no limit. I can have a lover that is a friend who is then a partner later. Yeah. And we just stay up to date.
Yeah.
And so even if I'm having this discussion with someone, we're in a friendship, who knows what that might turn into. And so it's really relevant. So how about you? Where are you at these days in your relating?
Yeah, I think relationship status is so important too, because it gives us the opportunity to check in with ourselves. Like, well, what am I looking for? I mean, right now I'm single. I'm not in a relationship at all. And I'm in a relationship with myself first and foremost. Is really, I come first. I am my own primary. I am having a love affair with myself, and I'm open to any other humans that I'm attracted to that light me up, that excite me, stimulate me in whatever way. And, whatever comes from that is, I'm not looking to create a relationship. I'm not fumbling around online looking for something. I'm not looking for a partner per se, but I feel like I have hundreds of partners out there, like, oh, let's do this. So, if I'm going to be intimate, it means that we're not dating.
Well,
right? We're not going to be dating afterwards.
Practical question around that for you and I in the actual moment. So your relating style, it sounds like it's very personal. Mm-hmm. What does it mean for us right now?
Right.
Yeah. Tell me how that relates to us.
It means that I'm present with you right here and right now.
All right. And are there any restrictions between you and I for today?
I
have
now? Zero restrictions. Today, I have zero restrictions.
From a relating perspective. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm gonna put everything out on the table. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and I'm gonna kind of reflect back on that side for me, without getting into the other things we'll talk about, and that is, in my, I have relationships in my life, but none of those have agreements that would keep us from doing whatever we desire today.
Yeah. And I think that's important too, to note that, if you are in relationship with other people that might be like, wait a minute, you went and had a conversation with Melissa, or wait, Melissa, you're like, I don't have anyone right now, and I've purposefully orchestrated my life so that I don't have to answer to anyone else. That if in the moment, if I'm like, Seth, I'm not feeling this right now, we're done, I can get up and leave, but I don't have to answer to anyone or ask permission or have an agreement. So that's, for me right now, is great.
I'm going to go ahead. No,
I also just want to say that when you have this conversation and someone across from you is like, well, I am in a relationship, but that person probably wouldn't understand, and they wouldn't really like it if I were doing this, or they don't do this with me, and so therefore I'm going to hide it from them.
Right.
That's a click, click, ding, ding for me to be like, well, I'm certainly not, I don't want to be involved in that right now. Personally, thanks for telling me.
Totally.
And now I have information that helps me make a choice and make a decision for myself. So that's why this is also super valuable, because you're going to get information that you're like, I thought I might want to be with you, but now maybe I don't.
Yeah, and I love that you went there, because that's exactly what I was going to do, is say that, let's give an example of this. There's so many relating styles, and I'm not like that there needs to be one. Yeah. You could literally be like, hey, I'm married. Our relationship is not open, and we're here, and I if we do anything intimate, which I might have a desire around, it's going to be a secret.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to shame that, because especially if someone brings that up, it gives you a decision to be like, maybe I'm down with that. Or, oh, maybe I'm not.
Right? Like, oh, secretive. Like,
yeah. Oh, that's a kink of mine. Great.
Right? Like, if you want to keep that a secret, that's on you. Right?
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to.
And when that starts to haunt you, not my problem.
Right.
Right? Yeah. When that haunts, if it haunts you, like, right? Maybe it won't. If that ever haunts you and that's your thing, I'll fucking play along with that.
And it also could be, again, let's go down the serious, like I have a serious partner and we're not playing outside of it. Yeah. Or, maybe here's what we do. We let other people kind of be intimate but it stops at kissing or something, right? Great. Right. And that also speaks to boundaries, but it also lets you to be like, okay, well, maybe there's something I don't understand about that. Are you going to tell them? Like, is it a secret if I see them, in the circle of my circles? And that's another one. If I know your partner, what does this mean to them? Yeah. I think that's a great thing to be talking about.
So that you're not caught off guard.
You're like walk into a party and say, hey, and they punch you in the face.
Right. Right. Because that's the whole thing. It's like, I think that the nuance to this and where it really gets fun is when you can remove the limitations and the secrets, or when there's transparency, that like some people take it to the really like, I need to know everything, I want to know everything, and I give you permission to do everything, but like, oh shit, I left that one piece out, and then someone's like, you didn't give me. So like having that nuance of fluidity too, of like, what's the right amount of information that's going to make my partner or someone else, like if you're free and clear, then and no one else is like, we don't have anyone to answer to. But if there is someone else involved, how is this going to impact him, her, me, you, us? Like, what are some consequences that are potential?
Yeah.
And that's nice to know,
and that's a great question to ask too, is, okay, what are you going to tell your partner about this experience? Because that might be like, oh, I don't want that shared with other people in your life. Sorry. Or like, do you have an agreement around that?
Right.
Relevant information.
Right. Right. Because they could also say, my partner, I can do whatever the hell I want, but I tell them. And then you might be like, well, I don't really want that person to know. And then can you make sure that they don't tell, it
can be as complex as that,
really,
and it can be as easy as I'm single and I relate polyamorously or monogamously, and you're like, great, check.
Yeah, and that's what's good about this, is that it opens up this could get a little bit more complicated. Yeah. Maybe we put a hold on it.
And this is also why it's great to be doing it before you're like
in the midst,
naked and doing whatever you do have desires around, and you're like, oh, we should probably have a conversation, and then like an hour later you're like, well, how about if I tell them but not them, and the moment's gone.
Yes, and then or after
you're worst. Like, oh, you've
shit,
agreed to...
I wish I would have known that. Were you responsible to tell me, or was I responsible to ask?
And that's a big one. Right.
And again, I think too, where this also is like really valuable is like putting a timeout in the actual conversation, is that, so often we get hurt unintentionally, right? It's an unintentional hurt that happens because there was not communication. And even the best meaning, like I meant well, I didn't mean for that to happen, but it can alleviate so much pain and suffering, because, and then it's like, oh well, that person's a narcissist, or that person did that to me, or that person did, and it's like, well, did you ask?
Right.
Did you do your due diligence? So now you're going to put the blame on them, and you could have asked.
People will still find a way to be human.
Exactly. People are people-y, right? But it does, like this whole, even in this community, I'm finding, where it's like we're all in this community, I find that people are, it's levels above Bumble, right? But still,
you hope it is
a lot of right. A practice of, like, just so there's not shaming, name calling. Oh, well, that person fucked up and totally royally, fucked me, and now everyone in the community needs to know about like this horrible thing that person did to me, and like I really hope that this conversation can help negate some of that, so that we're like, I am a human too, by the way. And even though I think that I'm being as transparent with you right now as possible, like, I'm going to fuck up sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to know that I'm not intentionally trying to fuck up, but I might. And because now we know each other very well, like, I would like you to help me have an awareness to that, but also when I have an awareness to it, that I can just bring it back and be like, I told you this, but I may have misled you. And it just opens up the ability to be transparent and be human, because we're human.
All right.
Did we cover the R?
Oh, totally.
We covered the R. And that's the other thing, they kind of all flow within each other,
they do a
right?
little bit,
They flow over. Yeah. So.
And there's no like, oh, we can't go back to R, right?
No.
So.
And I feel like sometimes it's a cute acronym, right? RBDSM, it makes it memorable, right? But I think that the flow could be different.
Totally.
But anyway.
Well, and so I started with R. Why don't you start with B?
B, boundaries. See, I think boundaries right out of the gate is sometimes a little like, oh.
It is. Yeah.
That's like, well, my boundary is like anything goes. And then it's like, well, I might change after the meaning making.
Yeah.
Right? Or I think desire should come before boundaries.
I agree. And that's actually, so RBDSM is easy to remember.
Yes.
But I agree. I actually like starting with initial desires.
Yeah.
And then even getting back to when, so let's say our desires are mutual in going, more into a sexual space. It's nice to hit desires and boundaries again. Like that's almost like a continual conversation that you can kind of keep updating. Unless you're like setting up a scene or something where you don't want to change boundaries and desires when you get into it.
Yeah.
For most relating, I think those are ones you actually kind of just, they keep going. Because like you said, if your meaning making, or if your desire for like what happens after all of that is that, we're married. Yeah. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I have no desire for that.
Yeah, yes.
Like my desires changed.
My boundary is a hard no.
Right, yeah. So, but it is, I think.
I'm hoping we can make a baby today.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
But desires does set the playing field to start.
Yes.
Especially if it's your first time and if the desires aren't obvious.
Yeah.
So let me hear your desires.
Okay, good.
We just so everyone knows, we skipped boundaries because we're going to come back to it, and we're going right into desires.
For sure. So desires. Well, also too, like this is for demonstration purposes, right?
Sure.
So it doesn't mean that what I say here. Actually, I'm gonna
do
like,
both.
oh, afterwards, after we're done with this, I'd like to go in the tent and make out with you.
Yeah. I mean, I think
actually
it's
might be
relevant
hot in there,
to do both. Say
so
what
a desire
it is.
Like,
because it's a spicy, real conversation.
Right.
We're
Let's
having,
close this podcast episode.
Like, oh, well, I didn't know that. Let's do it now. Right. We'll see you later.
Yeah. Well, we'll bring it in there with us. My desire is to go in the tent and make out with you, and maybe actually keep the camera rolling so I can go back and watch it afterwards.
Wow. That's an interesting desire. Right? I feel a little movement within me, and that's something I'm going to actually keep an eye on. I want to see where that takes me after this. Is that okay to kind of?
Yes. Absolutely.
Like, I don't have to respond exactly to your desire.
Right.
Like, but I love knowing that, because that helps me be like, ooh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then obviously desires can go so much farther, right? Like, oh, well, yes, I am a yes to that. Then once we're in the tent, then what's the desire? Oh, today I'm feeling really...
yeah.
What am I feeling, right? Like, I want a massage, I want anal, like whatever, like, right? The desire then can just really start going farther. And that's where, too, it can open up, like, well, that's my desire. Doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be something that's checked off the list.
Right.
Right? But then when you're in the moment, someone knows, like, oh, well, I know that I can now go there. We
may go in that direction.
Right.
And I find that this part of the conversation often, it's very contextual, right? So if this is our, like, we met on field and went out, like, my desire might be, I am feeling like just being a friend, and that's kind of where I'm at these right now, because it's setting context for within a, like, dating atmosphere where I want to be in the moment.
Yeah.
But this could be a conversation we're having right before we jump into the tent, right? And that could be, oh, well, my desire is, like, maybe on the sofa instead of the tent, but I'd definitely, like, be open to making out. Like, I'd like maybe to get naked. But, I might have some boundaries if we go beyond, like, heavy petting.
Yeah.
Like, that might be where you're at in the conversation, too. And that's something that's hard to know when you're at a dinner table having it for the first time, but is totally legitimate to be like, oh, my desire, and it can be really flirty. Like, oh, I'm feeling a connection with you. I think you're really attractive, and my desire is to, lean into that and see where we're at by the end of the evening. Like, that's a great desire.
And I think that's a great point, because, if you do meet someone on field, and you meet out, right? Like, let's meet out for a mocktail and have that first initial meetup, right? Oftentimes, that's when I'm like, hey, do you know about RBDSM?
Totally.
Right? No. Sometimes that's even a kicker, where someone's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm like, I'm definitely, like, I'm not in the mood to even teach you.
Yeah.
Right? Because for me, and not to say that I'm like, but I'm like, I don't really have the time or the capacity or the desire to even go down that with someone who has no idea what I'm talking about.
Maybe. Yeah.
Or I'm like, oh, this is fun, a newbie. Let me,
Yeah.
But introducing it and then just having kind of like, okay, great. So if things go well on this particular meetup, or we could try to have one right now in a higher level, right? And then we get into the nitty gritty once, like, okay, do you want to see me again? I want to see you again. Like, then let's have one. Hey, tonight, you want to come to my place? There's a potential for, let's get to know each other a little bit more. And then we have the real conversation. And then that's when, like, the good stuff can come out, right?
Right, like more explicit and more detailed.
Let's go in, right?
and to speak to that, like, oh, you talk about it beforehand, like, this is a chance to be super sexy and to put something out there and see what kind of response you get.
It can be the ultimate foreplay.
Be afraid to be like, I think my desire is to, like, lick your body up and down with some honey. And you can have a boundary, like, I'm not there, but it doesn't mean it's not, like, playing in your mind, right? And if I think it's relevant to not be ashamed of your true desires if you have them. Like, put them out there and let them fall where they are, because they're going to get found out eventually if you're really looking to relate with someone honestly. So. And
intimacy doesn't necessarily mean the act of, like, being physically sexual with someone. Intimacy, like I said, I find this conversation uber stimulating, and it's like the ultimate foreplay, because for me, talking is
absolutely,
oh my god, I can't fucking wait. I mean, that's why porn is so popular, right? Like, you're not physically touching someone there, but, like, it gets all the other senses going. And and in the moment, then you can be like, remember that thing we talked about? Like, oh, what do you think about adding that in right now or whatever? So all right, I did my desire.
I love that. Thank you.
Oh, you kind of did one too, honey. Looking up and down.
That was an example.
I was like, honey's a little messy.
Well, I love, because you set the ballpark for what the desires are, and that gives me a response. And I love, my responses usually are like, oh, I'm going to, like, let's revisit, because I want to think about that. I want to see how it's affecting my body. And I think that's an important part of all this. If someone hits you with a desire, first, you don't have to respond specifically. You can be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then, like, you should understand ways of understanding if you're a yes or a no.
Yes.
And that can take time. And so for me, I know that I'm like I'll know when we get close. And so I'm going to let you know as we get closer.
Yeah.
And then, you know, my true desires are like, I love having conversation. It is a way of like foreplay to intimacy for me. And I like love this idea. My desire is to keep this like going in the way that we are and to leave the end a little open. I think that keeps this sexy for me.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, that's within my desires to understand like maybe there's a little playtime after.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. I thought of something. It's escaping me. All right. Well, that's the D.
Yeah.
So I think, and that really then I think sets the tone for the boundary, right?
Yeah, for kind of initial round.
At that point, then it's like, well, let's talk about boundaries if we now are deciding to act on the desire.
Right.
Right. So the boundary then is really tied to that desire.
Yeah.
I would say, you know, like, how long do you have? I only have an hour. I've got 10 minutes.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's not necessarily every boundary that ever could be, right? It's
right.
Not,
right.
We didn't talk about anal, right? So it's like, well, if you're going to do anal, there's a certain lube I use. Like, that could be a total boundary. And like, it's a different conversation.
Yeah. Like, if you were like a yes to the initial, like, well, the desire is to go in the tent. And then it's like, oh, well, then what are the boundaries from there? And that's where then you would get into that. So we don't even maybe need to go into like an explicit exchange about boundaries right now. But the whole concept is that it then gives you a place to say, I'm a yes to making out in the tent, but you mentioned something about that, like, I'm not up for that today or whatever. That's where you can really just start saying, like, I think it's good to it's the feeling you were talking about, like, well, how is this feeling to me? So I really want to encourage people too, and that's where Ladihan comes into play so nicely, is like tapping into your feeling, like, oh my God, that just sparked something in me, like that. I must be excited, right? Like, and taking your mind out of it, like, oh my God, well, you know, like start logically then mulling things over. It's like, oh, that, or like a visceral, like a fuck no, or even a no, right? Like a no is usually like, can I talk myself into that?
Right.
Like, we don't want that, right? We don't want to be talking ourselves into anything, really.
Yeah.
I don't think. I don't want to anyway.
Well, boundaries that I often hear that I think are common,
mm-hmm.
just as examples, are, you know, it's very common to be, you know, I'm not looking for sexual penetration, but up to that, you know, oral and all that is amazing. Like, I'm open to those things. It doesn't necessarily mean there's a desire there, but there's a clarification. Like, that's a very common one to just set the table with.
Totally.
Right? Like, it kind of sets the table of, yeah, I'm open to playing mm-hmm. in kind of these normal ways, but I'm not having sex tonight.
Right.
Great. Like penetrative sex.
And then when we get into the S, which is right next, right? Like, that can change things.
That can change, right?
Very drastically.
And then other common boundaries, especially like on first dates and stuff, is exactly I'm here, I enjoy friendship making first. And so mm-hmm. my boundary is like that we're going to start off friendly and in friendship. And if things come out of that down the road, and that's a great one to know too, because then that allows the other person, like maybe they were looking for a one night stand. Nothing wrong with that. Right. Probably not the right person, right?
But that comes with the M, right? That's the M.
So those are boundaries that I hear that I think are really great ones to commonly get to. And I just want to say, especially with boundaries, but boundaries and desires, they always can be updated. Yeah. You should never feel pressure to change or to stick with something you changed your mind from. So if you said, oh, I have a boundary of, of sex, but I'll do the other things. Yeah. And then you're getting in there and you're like, actually, I don't feel like oral sex tonight. Yeah. It would be a huge red flag for me to be like, but earlier you said, be like, whoa, what, you can't respect my update on my boundary. Yeah. That's not something that goes away.
Exactly.
Like, that's just going to keep happening. And so there's no shame in updating your boundaries. And I would say if anyone presses against those non-contextually, there are times where that's actually a desire to be pressed. We're not talking about that. Yep. If you get pressed on your boundaries, that's like a red flag to me of, I think we need to get up. And it doesn't mean there's a bad person, but it may mean you need to remove from that situation and revisit where you're at.
Yeah. Fucking brilliant that you brought that up, because on the converse too is like, you can change your mind at any time.
Right.
Anytime.
You could be having sex and change your mind about sex.
You know what? I'm done. Right?
Right.
I'm done.
Absolutely.
I'm tired. All this
owe
hurts.
nothing.
Now I'm not in the I thought I wanted this, but now I don't.
Yeah.
No can happen anytime.
Yeah.
Now, where it gets kind of tricky or fun, right, is like, oh, I said I was a no to that earlier, but now I want this. And in the moment, having the wherewithal too to check in with yourself, like, oh, now I'm a yes.
Yeah.
Like, I find that to be a timeout moment.
I agree. Yeah.
Right?
And
like,
I think
it's okay, maybe let's then take a break.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's take a little break.
See where we're at.
Because.
And I've had this in true relationship situations, and I think it varies too a little bit on what I think the potential consequences are of changing the boundary.
Yes.
So it's one thing to be like, oh, we set up a scene where you're going to be whipping me and now I want you to rape me.
Yeah.
That's a big boundary change, right? Like that, I think is a nope, we're not going there as the person who's like maybe in charge, because you need to be aware that they might be not even understanding what they're changing it to, right? That's a complex timeout, huge timeout change.
And people being people-y is like, you could have said a desire earlier and I could have said no.
Right.
But then in the moment, like something in
now
our little lizard brain goes, but he said he wanted that. And I said no. And now maybe he really wants that. So maybe I should say yes because I want them to desire me more. Or maybe that's what they're thinking about. And oh, you know what? You wanted that earlier. I want that.
I'll give into it.
Right.
And that's
where the
game.
person is like, it takes a lot of sovereignty.
Yeah.
A lot of personal empowerment to say, for both parties, to be like, well, it's not that I don't trust you that now you are saying what you want, but maybe let's just take a little break, right?
And that for me on my, how I show up in most of these scenarios is masculine, somewhat dominant or switchy, but I feel like I'm in some amount of control in those situations. And if I hear someone changing it, that's actually often on me to stop it.
Yes.
And I take that on as my own responsibility.
Right.
Of
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, wait a minute. Like, it's not how far can I get with this person today?
Yeah.
It's respecting those boundaries and making decisions in the moment that will lead to respect and lead to relating in a good way beyond that time.
Yep.
And so there's not, and it's so hard to be like, oh, like she only wanted to go to second base, but I could get to third. Like, that's such a bad way of thinking.
Yeah. And, once the hormones are raging, like we are also primitive, instinctual, and so hormones change, right? And oxytocin levels change and things change. And so like, your fuck brain comes online, things change in the moment. And it's like, I didn't really realize that I did want that. But then also once you get attuned to the other person too, it's like, this is also just such a fine way to attune.
It can be. Yeah.
And, in the moment, like, oh my God, I just thought of something, like, and it doesn't have to be a play-by-play too, right? Like, but in the moment, like, hey, we didn't even talk about this, but like, I'm feeling like I want you to, like
addendum to what we're doing that we hadn't even talked about.
Right.
Now, the other side of this is I have had boundaries along the lines of, kissing is a little too intimate for me tonight, but let's cuddle. And then it got to a point where they're like, yeah, I think I'm open to kissing. And I'm like, okay, let's have a quick discussion. But that's And that's probably not going to lead to, in my mind, to a huge disaster. So that's like a boundary that to me is a little bit more mobile, as long as I feel like they're not drunk. I need to still make sure that I think they're making a conscious decision about it. And I've had that slip to a point where I was like, oh, okay, now I'm done. Like, now we can't change it too many times within like kissing, and then there's a heavy petting, and then it's like it gets much beyond that, and I'm like, well, your boundary early on was like that you actually didn't want to go this far, and now I'm starting to feel like maybe let's just do that next time, right?
Yeah, and then it kind of comes down to like, I want this process to allow for people to ask for what they want.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I would tell my kids this. Well, this was a motto at my daughter's, my son, their middle school. Ask for what you want. And so I took that and played on it. And I was like, yeah, don't be afraid to ask for what you want. You might get a no, but you also might get a yes. And just because you get a yes doesn't mean you actually have to do it right then and there, or it's just an idea. And if you take this as an analogy to a playground, right? Like the playground is open today, and you're free to play on any piece of equipment today that you like. Here's how this one works. And here's, if you really want to have fun on this one, give it a nice swirl, right? But, or like I have all of these things on my playground. That one's not open today, right? Like that one's broken down. It's on maintenance, but like sometime I'd like you to check it out maybe, right? Yeah. But then if you know where the boundaries are on the playground, it doesn't mean you have to visit everything.
And this is, I believe, also a good place to talk about that these are considered, so a hard no is not negotiable, but there's often I'm a no to that, but I'm a yes to something similar to what you just asked for.
Yes.
And that's a great way to find, like, it doesn't just be like, here's what I want, no.
Yeah.
Right? It's, here's what I want. I'm no, but like we could go in that direction this far. How's that? And you're like, nope, I just wanted the end goal.
Right? I'm a no to that because I just don't know.
Right.
I'm a no to that right now because I don't know. But like, let me watch you do that with someone else, or let me do some research, and whatnot. I'll come back to you and let you know if like I'm curious.
Yeah, and that for me,
it could be a no with curiosity.
The thing I most often use, because if I'm good at feeling a no, and I have a lot of natural curiosity, and so I'm usually a no, but I want to see it.
Yeah.
And then I want to talk about it after.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Right. And the no can then over time become a yes, and especially if the other person allows it. Like if you don't take it as dejection, as I'm like, no, doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, or you're not attractive. It just means that I'm a no.
Right. And I think that's also just, I'm so glad you said that, because a no doesn't mean anything about you.
Right.
Right? It's not a rejection per se. I'm not responsible for making you feel okay about what I want and what I don't want. Again, Lottie Han has really taught me about that. Like, this was fun and all, but now I'm a no. Mm-hmm. Right? Or just because I'm a no today doesn't mean I'm going to be a no tomorrow or in 5 minutes or whatever. It's that comfort level of like, if you can't talk about it, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. And I totally agree. Like you hear the saying, no is a complete sentence.
Right.
I agree with that. You don't owe them anything.
Right.
And if you're wanting to continue relating, you can have a no. Mm-hmm. You don't have to say why it's a no.
Right.
But a response around like things that you might be available for, if you truly are, is really helpful for the other person also.
Right.
And so, you can give an explanation, or you don't owe them an explanation. That's great. Yeah. Like, however, it's great also to give another area.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a no, but I'd love to explore friendship with you.
Yeah. Well, I think that leads into the S and maybe even the T.
Yeah.
Because a no could be like, well, I'm a no to that, not because I want to be, but because there's a safety issue here, right? or a health issue or whatever. And maybe I don't even want to go into that today.
Totally.
Right? So I can just say no right now so that I don't have to go into the S or the T.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, let's go into the S and the T.
Right. The S. Yes, let's do it. I mean, the S is like, if you're going to choose to exchange fluids with someone, what are the potential consequences that you could be sharing with those fluids?
Pull it. I think that's true, and I would pull it out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Purely just that sexual health can mean a lot of different things,
yeah.
and I see it as sexual health, and that can be both here, and this is a hard one, I think, for both people. It can be listing off, so it could. That the one that it's easiest is like I'm clear, which would mean I get tested or I have been tested, and that's another thing you can say is I was tested for these STDs 2 weeks ago. I was clear, which would mean that nothing came up positive. But that can be a little bit much too, depending on the desires.
Right.
And so what I think the moral obligation here is that if there's a desire that's named, morally, I feel the other person's obligated to me to tell me something that I might need to know that could be a sexual health or a sexual safety issue if we're going to do that desire. So that could be, I have HPV or whatever it is, and here's how I protect against that. It's a tricky one, though, because there's so much shaming around those things. But it can be so easy to just say, I always use a condom. Here's what I'm tested, I'm clear. Those are the types of things that often, it's just really practical conversation.
Totally. And I think even, well, let's just a real life example, right? Like I just gave you a desire, right? And then, but now we're at the S and I'm like, I haven't been tested in over a year.
Right.
I have no idea. Right.
Yeah.
And that then could change everything. Or, I was at a party last night and we all took hits off of a hookah and someone there is now sick, or I'm feeling a little tickle in my throat. Absolutely. Right. Or whatever. Like, I've got a toothache and I've got horrible breath, right? Like, and you're not going to want to kiss me or whatever. But that could then change everything. Because if I'm like, I don't know, I haven't been tested and who knows, right? Like everything else can then be like, you'd be like, I'm willing to take that chance, or or no kissing, no exchanging of fluids, right? Like nothing. Which can eliminate a lot of things, or it could be like, I don't really care. That's the S part is like, I think it really then gives you, again, agency to make a decision on all this other stuff sounded really yummy, but I'm not really willing to pay the price of admission on this like unknown factor.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'll say what I am. And then ones I've been in the past. So what I am now for this conversation, we haven't talked about like having sex, but I am in active sexual relationships with 2 partners. I think that's relevant for the other person to know. And because of how closely how often we get tested and closely we share that information, we also don't use condoms. So that's really relevant to you.
Yeah.
And then third, with new partners, I prefer like to use condoms or to come up with some way to really like, I need to feel really secure if we're going to go in a different route.
Right.
Because I'm protecting my 2 partners.
Yes.
And they don't know you.
Yeah. And if I don't know even
if you don't know them.
I don't even know my health, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then I could be like, oh, well, you're not using condoms with them. And you guys all trust each other, but like, do I feel comfortable with that?
Right.
Right. And that's where we just check in with our intuition, our feeling, like, I kind of want to be a yes, but I'm not really. So do I betray myself and say yes to something that I'm not a full fuck yes to?
Right.
Yay. I think that's good for S's.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good to have common ones that I've run into.
Yeah.
Because you will run into herpes.
Yes.
And then, there's 2 forms of herpes, and that is something that,
yes.
Okay, I have herpes. When was your last outbreak? Is it,
Right.
I always forget which one, herpes 1 and 2, but there's like the oral. And so, okay, when was your last outbreak?
Yeah.
How often? It's completely appropriate to first know what you're talking about and be like, okay, so do you usually know when you might have an outbreak?
Yeah.
How does that usually feel for you? And then you can kind of decide. And then with vaginal or with, it's not vaginal herpes. What would it be? What's the correct term for this? Sorry.
Well, this is too where like once we start getting into that conversation, for me personally, I'm like, I need to now get more educated.
Right.
Because my past partners, that's never been a thing. I've never had it. I don't have it. Well, as far as I know, right? So then once I start if I were to get into that conversation with you right now, I'd be like, you know what? This is another timeout.
Right.
Because now, like, I
might need to Google.
I don't know. Right? Yeah, let's GPT it, right?
Well, and that is exactly what I had to do. I'm being sexist when I say vaginal herpes because that's what I'm looking out for. I don't play typically with men, but it would be like genital herpes. And so then it's like, oh, okay, there's safe ways to play around that.
Yeah.
There are risks.
Yeah.
And there are also like, now I know to ask, okay, how often does that come up? Yeah. When did you learn about it? Because there's different things that can vary. Right. How do you protect against that? And you can kind of start to get into that conversation. And again,
totally,
it's not like a shaming thing. It's like, oh, I need to make a good decision about this. And that was one of those where I was like, oh, I don't know where I'm at on this. So that was you're like, I kind of need to find that out.
Totally. But and this actually is another whole topic of conversation that I would love to have someone. I've had it before Nadihan last year. I had the conversation. I was like, well, it's never been an issue for me, so like I don't even, but now like, and so I had to consult with someone else to be like, how do you set the container for this? Mm-hmm. Like, what, I don't want to do something irresponsible, but it's never been an issue for me, or so I don't know, and I don't know what I don't know, but but then that can lead down other rabbit holes. Like not everyone, most people in my family, like my children got cold sores. They started getting cold sores as young kids. Their dad has it. It's genetically like, so that's almost like, then it's like, well, are you right now, we all carry around the common cold, right? And it just gets triggered at any moment. So like, well, I don't know, when was your last sniffle? When was, like, are you contagious right now with anything? And then it's like, all right, how granular does one want to get? Are you going to wear a mask during this? Right?
Maybe that'd be sexy.
Not just a condom, right? Like you could be carrying any number of things that I could potentially get from you if we're close enough and intimate. Mm-hmm. So, but a cold sore, right? Like, oh, well, my kids both have cold sores right now. I never get them, but like it could be on me.
Right.
And if I put my lips on your dick, who knows? Mm-hmm. Right? So it's, like it, again, it's just, that's the least sexy part about this whole conversation, but it's good to know that, again, you've got a spectrum of where it can go.
Yeah.
Depending on your thresholds of concern and safety. But
I think that's something where there's a certain just like educating yourself a little bit, and also if that is something that you run into, if you do have, and I called it HPV earlier, I said HPV, but it's HSV, like you can have that available to be like, hey, I have HSV. If that's uncomfortable to you, here's some things we can do that won't expose you.
Yeah.
That are fun.
Totally.
Right?
Right, because I know.
Or if you don't know.
You might not know about it, but here's what I have knowledge about and wisdom. Like you can either take my word for it.
Yeah.
Or you can go do your own research.
And if you want to, engage with them in some fun, sexy way, it's great to have these alternatives that are safe. Let them feel comfortable with it, and not have it be like oh, trust me, you won't get anything, and then be like, I don't know. And then suddenly maybe sexy time's over versus, oh, you don't know about that? Well, how about we do this instead? You won't be exposed in any way, but we'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah. And then we have the M.
Okay.
The M, the meaning, the morning after, what if any are the expectations or a cherished outcome for this?
Yeah.
Right. And my cherished outcome, just piggybacking off of my desire earlier, is like, you know, I've got about 30 minutes after that. Don't expect to hear from me either for a week or a month or whatever.
Right,
like,
whenever we get,
you know, or God, if that was it, or like, oh my God, afterwards I'm going to want to talk about it.
Yeah.
For hours, you know. Right? Or, oh, it might be fun to like watch the video together later down the road or whatever, you know, like, but the meaning is just about like, do I have a cherished outcome for this? And again, you might not even know, but having the conversation can then be like, well, I hadn't really thought about that, but what if I really like you?
Right.
And afterwards you don't call me.
Right.
Or I text you about it and you don't respond.
Yeah.
What then? You know, and again, this can go as broad or as as you want it
so
to.
Some really great ones just to have at your hand is, no matter what, even if maybe you don't fully feel this, unless you know yourself really well, it's almost always good to be like, I'd love to get a text tomorrow just as a check-in.
Yeah.
Or in the next 2 days.
Yeah.
And that helps with that. Like, I don't know what I'm going to feel, but like, let's check in and just see what, if anything came up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's just a great response, unless you just know, like, we have a relationship and like, I imagine. So my response on this is like, I'll hear from you when I hear from you. Like, whatever happens there, we'll have fun. And I don't expect that I'll need to contact you afterwards because we'll run into each other at some point.
Yeah. And I could say to you like, hey, maybe after the dust has settled, you know, like, let's talk about it. What did you like about that?
Yeah.
What was awesome for you? Or, you know, or like, you know, I didn't really feel anything. And so therefore, like, I don't really think I'll ever want to do that again.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
But for me, I think for my meaning for this particular example is like, I would love to check in with you within a couple days. Right?
Totally.
Like, for me, leaving it loose. Right? Like, my intention and my desire would be that, you know, hey, we check in. Like, let's have a debriefing.
Totally.
About that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think of other common ones. You know, again, this is meant for like, this could be every day, but it can get as deep as, hey, we're about to do something that's really intense, and I'm going to need you to like hold me for a couple hours, or ones I love it, staying over for the night is a great one to talk about. Yeah, the aftercare. Like, I really just love to cuddle afterwards, and then, you know, sometimes that's a big no for people, and then it's something to talk about, right?
Yeah. Or as soon as we're done with this, I'd like you to pack up and get out.
Totally.
And I don't want to talk about it. Are you going to be okay with that? Doesn't mean that like I'm going to want to like, bye.
Mm-hmm.
And some people might be like, well, I like to cuddle afterwards, and I'll be like, I'll give you 5 minutes.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Like, I got to be at work at 5 in the morning. Like, our time clock is going. Like,
but that's also a good thing too. Timing, right? Yeah. Like, I have about an hour, right? Like,
and that includes all of it. Like, I need to be sleeping in an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, once our hard stop, so that we can work backwards. Because we actually did that during, like, I think a massage or sometime where we were like, let's set a timer.
Yeah.
Because you could get lost in the moment and be like, oh,
and we're both early, like we wake up early. Yeah. It's like, I've been in that scenario where you're like, oh, geez, I should have told him that I'm going to fall asleep at 11, you know?
Or like, if I orgasm, I'm done.
Totally.
Right? Or once I orgasm, I've got another 3, 4, like, give me one, I can have 20, right? Like, can you up for that? You up for a 4-hour session with me? Yeah. Oh, here's another thing that I always tell people, and I think this, I sometimes set this, well, it can fall in all of the categories, honestly, but for me, I like to take breaks. You know, is this going to be a quickie, like a 15-minute makeout session, right? Like, oh, let's just kind of go make out. Or it's like, we're going to try to explore every ride on the playground, right? And with that, like, after each ride, I like to go get a water break and wash my hands and maybe have a little nibble or a bite to eat and like ramp back up again.
Yeah.
How are you with that? Because breaks to me I love them. They add to my pleasure. Whereas some people are like, wait, what? We're stopping?
Yeah.
Fuck, we just started, you know, and it's like being able to, I like to tell people that.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, there's a lot of like self-awareness within this, like how well you know yourself, and you just may not know, or it may not. And so these are all things you can talk about in the moment, or just learn and be like, oh, like they just left, and I didn't like that, like mental note, like, or they just got up and took a 15-minute break, and it killed it for me. Like, okay, I need to bring that up next time.
Like I like to take breaks, but I'll tell you about it first. You know, like I'll check in, like, hey, now's a good, like I gotta pee. Right? Like my bladder now is ruining the moment for me. I'd like to go pee, and once I pee, I'll probably now want to get a little snack, and that doesn't mean it's over, right? And that I think is really important too, because then the other person is like, well, wait, now are we done? Are we not done? Are you coming back? You're not coming back. Like, so yeah, I like to tell people that, so that so I have the freedom to take the break, and they're not left like, wait, do I put my pants on now?
Right.
Oh, she didn't like me. She just left. All right. Do we have anything else on the M?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty good there. Good.
And I think T, like, I like this one. Again, personally, I don't have, and awesomely, I pay a lot of reverence to this. I don't have trauma, that I have to name. Now, I went through a period about a few weeks ago where I was crying a lot, and it was just spontaneous eruption of crying, which I love personally, but crying can be uncomfortable to other humans, right? So I would say, like, I might bust out into tears tonight multiple times, right? And so if I do, it might be from pleasure, it might be from joy, it might be from exhilaration, but in the moment, I want you to know that, like, I could potentially cry during this, or I could cry through the whole thing, or I might not. But if I do cry, I don't need you to, like, all of a sudden be like, oh shit, what's wrong, right? But I'm going to give you that information so that it's not traumatizing for you.
Okay. So if you cry, you'll let me know why.
Yeah. If I start crying in the moment, I could just be like, hey, keep going. Right? But then you then know, like, oh, well, this is now a turnoff for me, and I can be done. Or, oh, she's crying, I love this, you know, like, but at least it's information. So, but the T can go much deeper than that. Yeah. Right. Depending on but I think it's a good way of, like, oh, I could potentially get triggered because of an incident that happened. I don't need to tell you all the gory details. I don't need to tell you, but if I get triggered, sometimes the way to help me through that is to take a little break. Or, oh, hey, I'm getting triggered. Can you hold me?
And I kind of like that term actually better than trauma. I like triggered.
Yeah, I like it too, actually.
Because
triggers.
I'm not here to, like, decide what's a capital T and what's a little t.
Totally.
And so I think that is just more appropriate.
I like the word. Let's change it.
Here's a trigger that might come up.
If you watch, we're going to change T to triggers. I mean, I think that's a way. Yeah.
And you may trigger a trauma, and I think it's good to understand things that you can run into, because first, many people don't know them, and so they don't know their own. Right. And especially as you deepen or explore different areas, you may run into things that you didn't know. And so as the person, like, if you know your traumas or you know those, it's great to bring them up. But as the person receiving this information, it's always good to just understand, like, that people can have them, and that to be aware of what are things you might be looking for and what can you do. And so ones that are very common is people can get glassy-eyed and disassociate. Yeah. And that's something that takes just a little bit of, like, being in connection with the person. And if you feel that something might be off, it's really up to you to check in with them.
Right, like, hey, and I kind of lost you here. Like, are you still with me?
It could be that they're so in joy pleasure land
Right.
Or it could be that, that suddenly when
out.
you are reliving a trauma, especially early on, you aren't necessarily there and present.
Yeah.
And so if you don't get a response, or if you start to see things, it is now your responsibility, my responsibility, to stop and understand what might be going on and to work through that. And that's just the reality of playing in this world.
I love
is
it.
That
well, also too is like part of the scene, right? Be like, I want to get through this trauma.
Could be.
I have this past thing that happened to me, and I would like someone to help me now navigate through it in a sexual way.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that, like that, it might start triggering some things. So in that, like, can you be there to help support me through this so that I can now get, maybe not get rid of it is the wrong phrase, but you know what I mean? Like work through it to heal it.
Right.
And I'd like you to be a part of that with me.
Please let that person know so that it's not like, get their permission, right?
Yeah, wait, I just did what for you? Like, yeah. I mean, like setting the scene is really important on all fronts.
Yeah. And I've gotten from someone before, it's most common in my experience to have people who generally don't have anything or don't bring anything up. But I have gotten, I had this trauma. It was a sexual response. There was a response to sexuality. Yeah. I've worked through that. It's been a few years, but I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah.
For me, because we may run into that. And then at least I'm kind of like in the aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And of course, it's up to you to decide if you want to bring up that you had that. If you don't feel it's relevant, then
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at ISTA, during the sacred spot, I had some afterwards. It was the one and only time that I was like, I need assistance over here afterwards, because I got so triggered during that. And I didn't even know I had the trigger or the trauma or whatever. Like I did know it, but I didn't realize. So I was like, I need to work through something. And I'm going to tell this story because I think this is important too, is that like in a past relationship, I was told that I was like the cruise director, like, I'm the one who's like, well, let's switch positions. Let's do it this way. And like, I was like the leader, right? And that was somehow triggering or traumatizing to this partner. And so them like almost kind of like making fun of me or shaming me about like, oh, you're just a cruise director. Like, and that did, it was like, that was traumatizing for me in certain ways. Cause I was like, well, I really want to, and this is before I even knew about the RBDSM, right? So I'm just like, let's flip around. Let's do this. Let's do that. And for me, it was more about like pleasure seeking. And for them, they're like, you don't like what I'm doing. You're not satisfied. Why is it that this isn't pleasing for you? And now you want to do something, but then I'm like, well, why don't you pick a position? Why don't you change? And so like, this is where, so the T for me in that was like, how do I now feel agency? And this whole conversation, this process has helped me through that, where I'm like, I like to flip around a lot. I like to be a suggestion box during it. So maybe in the boundary and desire setting is like, I might want to throw some curveballs at you. Are you going to be open for that? Right. But I think this conversation helps
totally
take away a lot of that mystery of, if I want to flip positions or do something different during it, please don't take offense to what's happening right then and there. Like, hey, in a few minutes, my knees are starting to hurt, right?
And there's so much wrapped into sexuality that I think it's worth noting that, like, to receive instruction can be the best thing you ever got. Like, someone who's going to tell you how to please them, yes, please. Because there's no single way to please a person. And I totally get that can feel like an affront.
Yeah.
Because of lots of what we wrap into sexuality and performance, and that we think there is some way that you're like, oh, I'm just good at it, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is, like, every person kind of has their thing, and if they can tell you,
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Right. I'm so glad you said this, because that is where the pleasure can get unleashed.
Yeah.
Unleashed, because if you're willing, one, to say it, hey, oh my God, a millimeter over and this will be golden, I think.
Yeah.
Right. And the other person being open to that, like, oh, thank you for telling me, as opposed to like, right, taking some part of what you're doing as, and only in sex, well, not only in sex, but like, you know, if you're giving someone a massage and they're like, oh, that's a little hard, like simmer down, or harder. Like you would never be like, oh, they didn't like what I was doing, and so now I'm doing it wrong. Like, but in sex, isn't it great to know that, like, holy shit, that feels good.
Yeah.
Now take it up a notch, or oh, back off a little bit, because now it hurts. Right?
Yeah, there's so much growing up that I recall feeling like there was a way to do something, like, oh, women like this, or this is great, right? And you're like, great, like some of that could be a great starting point, but there is no way that people like things. It's like, there's just starting places, right?
Well, I mean, take for instance, like porn. You know, a lot of porn in the early days was like, slam, and women are like, I don't fucking want the jackrabbit all the time. Sometimes, sure. Right. But unless as a woman you're like, all right, can we slow things down a little bit? Yeah. Or please, can we? That was great and all, but like, now I'm losing sensation, or it's whatever. But like, but I'm
like, oh, she needs to know I'm manly, and she loves like I'm showing my manliness.
This is what porn taught me, right? She loves it. Why isn't she screaming like that? Why? Well, I'm screaming because it hurts. So yeah.
And then there's the opposite of that too. There's like too gentle, and that's something I've totally run into before. And that's again like because everyone's different, or because like suddenly someone told me they didn't like to, it was so rough, and now I'm like, oh geez, no one likes it rough, and it's like, no, you just everyone's different. So sometimes different. A little harder is good.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, that's an hour and 17. Yeah. I think that gives us a really, that was pretty good. That was really in depth. I think we gave some really good examples, and I hope that even if only 10 people watch this, and those 10 people start practicing this in some way, the ripple effects, if you're having a lot of sexual intimacy, like that can ripple out, and you can practice this on a small scale, and you could go an hour and 15 minutes, and it's juicy. Yeah. And so that's really my goal of like creating this podcast, is so that even if just one person practices this with their partner, and then that person practices it, it's helping raise the level of the consciousness and conscious relating in this community, and it only just gets better, I think.
Yeah. And we talked about that. I think it's good to it's the boundaries and desires we revisit. Like, it would be appropriate to revisit those now within, like, we've talked about it all, and now it's okay, we've got a couple of things we could focus in on. Right. So like totally get back into those. Yeah. But relating, be it boundaries, desires, RBDS, sexual health, or just like sexual protection. Yeah. Meaning making, and what do I want? What you had a great phrase. What did you call it? It was, what's my desired outcome, or my cherished outcome?
Cherished outcome.
Cherished outcome. I think that's great. Yeah. Meaning making, and then trigger trauma. Yeah. Like, even just bringing that up, if you don't exactly remember what it all is, gets you down a path.
So I will put a link. I actually have the RBDSM written out in written format, so I'll put a link to that. It's a free resource on the Journey Couture website. All the reservoir of resources. Like, I've got a lot of the ISTA ones that are out there floating around. I'm like, I'll just congregate those in one place so that people can find those. So there'll be a link to that. We can have links to other different podcasts and resources, right?
Let me give a few of those, since we're on a podcast here. So the ones that I think are amazing.
Yes.
So this goes right into Wheel of Consent.
Yes.
And I think learning about that, there's free videos
all over the place
about what that means. You could just watch a Wheel of Consent set of videos and become a million times better lover and receiver, and understand your desires and your boundaries like a million times better just by watching a few of those.
Wheel of Consent. I'll actually put a couple links on there of ones that I've watched over and sent to other people.
And then in the realms of, we've talked about like open relating, polyamory, like there's so much there. There's so much out there around that, and also like so much misinformation. It's something that, it's a realm I work in. I do coaching, and I love to coach people on the types of things that they're going to run into, opening relationships, understanding themselves through different types of parts work, and just embodiment with themselves. So that's something I do, and I really love being able to do. So I'll put that out there as well.
This is the whole thing. It's like, I just want to open up this reservoir of resources. Like, here's something that has worked really well in my life that has helped me immensely. I might not be an expert in it, but he can coach you on it, and my love right now is the podcast, right? And then opening that up to like experts or people in the know like you, that I can just say, go to him, go to her, go to them, and I want to create this reservoir of resources where we can all just tap into in the community. All right, let's have that boundaries and desire conversation.
All right, will we go in the tent or not? TBD.
Oh, and if you like this episode, you definitely have to tune in for the next episode with me and Riley and Lori Handlers, where Lori interviews me and my daughter, where we talk about how I started kind of doing this with my daughter well before I knew the acronym of RBDSMT, but teaching my daughter how to set boundaries, how to be confident in setting her boundaries. And so this will be a perfect segue follow-up for what's happening with Seth on this particular podcast. And I hope that you find value in these. All right. Cheers. Thank you for joining Journey Out of the Bottle. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And for more information or to connect with me, please visit journey-couture.com or visit me on Instagram at Journey Out of the Bottle. Thanks for listening. I hope you have a beautiful and blissful, outlandishly wild day.